Halló, ég heiti Björk. I think I'm half 5-year-old and the other half of me is about 50. But the side that's 50 of me is very private. And people don't see that side of me. Because actually I'm very organized, I'm very disciplined, I work very much. And I've always been like this since I was a kid. And people just don't see that side of me. They see the 5-year-old because that's the person that's outside, you know?
Björk Gudmundsdottir föddes 1965 i Reykjavik på Island. Hon är ett av barnen i en familj bestående av 3 systrar, 3 bröder med 3 olika mammor och 3 olika papper. Från 6 till 14 års ålder gick Björk på Reykjaviks musikhögskola där hon lärde sig spela piano och flöjt. Och hon släppte faktiskt redan 1977 en egen LP som innehåller låtar med covers av bland annat Stevie Wonder och The Beatles och isländska sånger i 70-talstappning. Hon var med i olika punk- och new wave-grupper innan hon 20 år gammal tillsammans med 5 kamrater bildade bandet The Sugar Cubes.
The Sugar Cubes, number one, it was the people. We were a group of friends and we liked each other, had the good times together. And the music that came out of that relationship was a bit of an accident.
Bandet blev direkt väldigt hypat, inte bara på Island utan också i England, efter ett tag också i USA. Och det tog inte lång tid innan de blev kultförklarade och turnerade med band som New Order och U2. Efter 3 album och ett dubbelalbum splittrades dock The Sugar Cubes 1992.
When I realized the Sugar Cubes had become this serious band thing, I started to realize that it was now or never. Either I record all those songs of mine that had been floating in my head all those years, or I would never do it, you know.
1993 kom så plattan Debut som blev hyllad världen över. Björk blev genast världsberömd och plattan var någonting nytt och modernt och var en stor blandning av många olika influenser, speciellt från den moderna dansmusiken. Albumet producerades av Nelly Hooper, en gång medlem av Massive Attack och producent av deras båda album.
Debut was very much for me like a little virgin trying to express herself. I mean musically a virgin. And that's why I called it that debut, even though some people knew that I'd been around for years and thought I was taking the piss or something. But for me it was very much like the first time my songs that I'd kept like in darkness and locked in my little diaries only to be seen by myself. The first time they went out and sort of had to figure out a life of their own and how to survive.
Och i våras kom den andra plattan, Post.
I guess the biggest difference between Debut and Post is that Debut were all songs I wrote over a 10-year period, all in my house in Iceland after my son had gone to bed. So they were quite private and intimate, like little experiments, and more like a diary thing, you know, something in order to keep you sane, rather than you want to tell the whole world about it.
19 år gammal gifte sig Björk och fick sonen Sindri. Numera är hon dock skild och bor tillsammans med honom sedan 2 år tillbaka i London.
This album is on the contrary. I moved to England 2 years ago, and all the songs on this album are written since then. So they're all written with in mind that other people will hear them. They are more not as shy and introvert. They're probably more sort of conscious and more confident.
There's nothing wrong. Self-sufficiency, please, and jack to work. And if you complain once more, you'll be damned, I'm lovely.
Because it's the girl who left home and is trying out all these brand new things he's never tried before and tasting all those cities and meeting all these lunatics and best of all, meeting all the lunatics like herself, you know, because there aren't that many back in Iceland. and communicating with all them and figuring out there are more people out there who feel like her. And it's just, it's definitely like a brave album, but at the same time kind of scary. Post is more scary than debut because I'm definitely jumping off more cliffs this time around. She always has, so I'm very much, especially when touring, I'm very much of a Moomin mother. But I think I used to be more of a Pippi Longstocking, you know, a few years ago. I still am, but I used to be very much, especially as a teenager. In a very spontaneous way, and of course the whole punk scene was about all getting in a studio and just doing one take. And do another take was a joke. It didn't exist because rehearsal, life isn't a rehearsal and you can't rehearse for something, you just have to do it once, you know. Then you realize very quickly that freedom and discipline is the same thing. It's just the other side of the coin is discipline and freedom. And the more discipline you have, the more freedom you have. That is, if you have the right kind of discipline. So the trick is very much to know how to, what to be disciplined about and what to keep open. So how to prepare yourself. Like you go to a studio and you have to make decisions about half of the things and not make decisions of the other half. And have the courage, which is very, very important, to not make decisions of the other half.
To trust other people?
Yeah, both to trust other people, also just to trust that day, that you will just think of something when it happens. You have to trust it and just relax and let go, you know?
I have to go through this.
So very much my job is very, very much to organize an accident. That's my job. And so in a way it's a little bit like hunting in the forest. You put a trap somewhere for the animal, but you have no way where it's gonna run or what it's gonna behave. You can guess. And that's how you get good with discipline organizing, is you can sort of become a good guesser where it's gonna be. But at the same time, you know, you never know. You never will know. And I will never know how to write a song because no two songs are the same. And I try to treat, consciously, I try to treat each song completely different. That there is no rule, you know. But I like this very much. And for me, it's like playing a game with yourself. You know, like you're trying to surprise yourself. And sometimes being the most predictable is the most surprising. 12-year-old. And most of the time I was the only girl. That, okay, what is most important for you, Björk? That's to make a song, you know, a good song. So if you want something like this, you have to very quickly ignore things like the food taste of the person, the fact that he likes sausages but you don't. You can't make that stand in the way that you write a good song. And very quickly it goes on and on, like the clothes the person wears doesn't matter, the way a person looks doesn't matter, the sex doesn't matter, the race don't matter, the age don't matter. So very quickly I became completely like, I don't want to know. I ignore on purpose. All I'm trying to do is work with this person the best I can, so 1 + 1 becomes 1. And if it works well, and if you're lucky, it will continue all the way until the more impossible happens, which is 1 + 1 is 3, and you got a song. So every time when I was a teenager and I was in bands and there was a lot of boys and I was the only girl, and I hear something like, oh, but she's a girl. I know I can just smell trouble. There's something wrong, you know? So just, it don't stand in the way. You are working with people, characters, not with sex or age or race or whatever. So if one of the misconceptions people have about me when they meet me, oh yeah, and she's a woman. Yes, she can do this and she's a woman. Or she can't do this because she's a woman. I'll just work with them just for 1 or 2 days and then they'll forget. It's just the beginning stage, you know?
If you ever get close to a human and human behavior, so terribly, terribly, terribly moody. Human being, and all of a sudden turn happy. Me and Matthew after my hat in my strange of human emotions is ever so satisfying. Me and Matthew, yeah, and there is no man that I'm shedding.
You know, like these things you remember always when you were a kid? I was about 5 years old and I was playing with kids in my neighborhood and we were gonna do something. I can't remember what it was, but we were all gonna do something together and we were having a great time. And then all the other kids suddenly said, but we can't do this. And I'm like, but why? Because you're not supposed to. And I'm like, but we want to and we're not hurting anyone. And I just remember suddenly realizing that it was very great feeling. That doing what you're supposed to do was like over here, and doing what I want to do with my intuition is over here, and there's a great big canyon between, and it was like crossroad, and I went over here and I've never regretted since. And the only thing I have is intuition. I think a lot of people don't understand me. They look at me from over there and don't get it. I still meet today in Icelandic discos people that were with me in school when I was a kid, and they go, now I understand you, you know, and I'm like, oh, okay. You know, and sometimes it can even be dangerous because I remember I was on television, very pregnant, when I was 19, with my stomach sticking out, and the Icelandic television had never got so many complaints, and they got all these letters and people calling very angry, and one woman got a heart attack. So it can even be dangerous to do what you want.
Björk har som sagt varit gift, men efter det har hon inte inlett något seriöst förhållande. Men det har gått en massa rykten om olika kärleksförhållanden, till exempel med den brittiska triphopparen Tricky, som också har varit medproducent på Post.
Yeah, I'm very over romantic, and I very much believe in relationships, but I don't think they are as simple as being husband and a wife, you know, because I have very intimate relationship with a lot of people. Like most of the people just on this album Post, like Tricky, like Nelly Hooper, Marius, the programmer, the engineer Al Stone, Howie B, the engineer. Howie B wrote a song with me as well, Graham Massey, just my manager, Derek Burkitt, he's a friend for 12 years, the guy who did the album Sleeve with me, I worked with for 8 years, another friend. These are all relationships that I have and are very important and vital for me, but none two are the same, you know, and very important. I definitely believe that there is something as meeting a person and being with her for the rest of your life, but yeah, I think people have to stop putting standards to relationships. Like you can have a friend that you sometimes feel erotic with, you can have a friend you never feel erotic with, you can have a friend which is very humorous, you can have a friend that you feel very strong and he feels very vulnerable, you can have a friend that you both get very angry when you're together and it feels good because you're angry together at the world. You can have a friend that you feel very silly and childish with. And all these things should exist because every person has got all these things in him or herself, and stop sort of trying to say, oh, this relationship, it's like this. Because no two relationships are the same and no fucking two marriages are the same, you know?
I början av 80-talet började Björk lyssna på teknologisk musik. Då var det Brian Eno och Tangerine Dreams som gällde. Och Björk ser från skillnad till många andra de snabba framstegen inom teknologin som något positivt för människan.
If I get one more person who come to me and complain about that computer music has no soul, I will be furious, you know? Because of course, if computer is just a tool, and if there is no soul in computer music, it's because nobody put it there. And it's not the role of a computer to put the soul in it. You know, it's a role of a person who writes the song. And if the person who writes the song don't want to put the soul in the song, the person won't put the soul in the song. But you can't look at the guitar and say, the guitar will never write a song. You know, and a computer will never write a song. These things are just tools, you know. And I think like people were terrified in the beginning of this century when people discovered telephone. They were like, but people are going to stop meeting. They're just going to talk on the telephone and be inside their houses all the time, which is nonsense, you know, of course. Nothing will ever be a substitute for meeting another person, you know? And telephone is just an object, like matches or a knife and a fork. And computers are as well, you know? And people say, oh, computers are going to take over and control us. It's so much nonsense. But we'll see. We'll win in the end. We will. So nice.